Welcome back to another episode of the Know Your Power podcast. I am your host, Kendall Aaliyah.
And I'm Juliarene.
I'll never not make you laugh.
I don't know why.
What happens when we get married and we have to change our names?
When me and you get married?
Together.
Like I get married to you and you get married to me?
I'm Kendall Renee.
I was like, what?
No, when we get married to our partners.
Oh, yeah. Nah, I told Zach, I was like, I'm keeping Juliarene.
Well, that's why I think that's why I adapted Aaliyah, because then even if my last name changes, I don't have to change any of my platforms. Exactly. I was thinking ahead of time.
But also, women, you don't have to take your man's last name.
My brothers did not, if that's any testament.
That's actually really cool.
I do think it's cool that they didn't. Anyway, today we are on, is this our last Gym Girl Basics?
I want to say it's our last Gym Girl Basics
of
episode.
The series.
We've done, I feel like, a total of 5, and people, you guys are loving them.
Yes.
Well, at least
I'm loving them.
I love them. They're really fun. And at least like the views are saying that people are loving them. So I'm excited. And we also potentially can introduce our next series that we're doing probably in the next one after I double check my resources because I don't want to say anything.
We won't assume, but I think this is the last one, and we are covering cardio. We've already done busting myths, we've done nutrition, we've done exercise plans, and now we're on to cardio, which obviously ties into your exercise plan, but it is its own category.
Supplements, didn't we?
Oh, yes, we also
did
the last supplements. My bad.
And shush.
Cardio is a pretty simple one. You can probably tell by the length of this episode. It's not that long. There's not much to it.
But the thing is that it's not simple.
Yeah.
You know. Okay. Well, hold on.
Elaborate.
Let me elaborate. It is simple. Most things in life are simple, but when humans get involved in it, we just screw it all up.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what we do with most things.
But at the end of the day, it is simple. Cardio is broken down into 3 main types, and you've probably seen these. What are they called? I wanted to say anagram, and that is not it.
Enneagram.
I think that's where
acronym.
Acronym. That's the word. You've seen these acronyms at some point in some YouTube video or Instagram post or just somewhere. And they are LISS, MISS, and HIIT. So what those stand for, and then we'll break them down. LISS is low intensity steady state. MISS is mid intensity steady state. And then HIIT is high intensity interval training. These are the 3 like main branches.
I hate it.
You're making the funniest face. These are the 3 main branches. So if you're like viewing cardio as the tree, these are the main branches. And then the types of cardio kind of like stem off of those. So LISS is first. They're pretty self-explanatory, but I'm going to over-explain because I want to make this as digestible as possible. LISS, low intensity steady state, is just that. You are walking at a steady pace that is low intensity, usually for a prolonged time. I don't think things are considered LISS or MISS unless they're over at least 10 minutes. If not, it's kind of like you're not even getting your heart rate up enough to count it as cardio at that point.
Did you get your lips done? They look amazing.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
She's talking to me and I'm like, don't listen to a word she's saying. Her lips are bomb.
It's been like 2 weeks now, but so I feel like last week we had I almost said client.
Oh, wait,
a guest.
Yeah.
So
we didn't do it last
We didn't
week,
really. Yeah, we did. We just didn't look at each other. We were on the same side.
Oh, yeah, because we had a guest.
Yes,
Time is irrelevant.
Yes.
But yes,
Anyway.
LISS. And what I'm thinking too, at least in the LISS category, and correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like most bodybuilders, this is where they do their cardio because they don't want to do anything that's too, like, I guess if we're talking about, they don't want to do anything HIIT or that's too difficult on their body because we're trying to preserve muscle.
Yeah.
So a lot of people ask me like, why do you always do the stairmaster? I always see you on the stairmaster. Why do bodybuilders always do the stairmaster? Because it's challenging for one, so they can be challenged, but also they can stick to a specific level and stay on that level and keep their heart rate up without having to like go higher levels or anything like that to actually put more stress on their body, I would say. So
well, you also have to consider, like, that's why when we talk about the cardio we say things like 2 hours on the stairmaster, an hour and a half on the treadmill, and it might sound insane because you're picturing us like all out sprinting the whole time, but most of the time bodybuilders do that LISS type of workout where we're doing really low impact, really slow. Some people, and I've seen you get like pretty fast on the Stairmaster, so you might go into missed territory. But overall, you're just at like a pretty standard pace where you could probably hold a conversation. You'll be huffing and puffing, but you can talk.
Exactly.
So it shouldn't be like crazy hard at that point. And yeah, it's really good for maintaining muscle because you're not putting a ton of, I'll go into heart rate zones in a second, but you aren't putting a ton of stress in your body, and you still need to prioritize your weight training when you're a bodybuilder. So that needs to come first. Yeah. I'm debating if I want to talk about heart rate zones now, but I might just save it until the end because that's super important for like where you're trying to go with your cardio. Next, just an example of that, I said like walking outside, just getting your steps in, walking on incline. I think most bodybuilders in their off season especially stick to lists, but like very on the low end of lists, like walking, hiking, like anything where it's like you're not really tracking or going for like an hour or two.
Exactly. Yeah. I see like the gym that I go to is there's a lot of bodybuilders that go there. So I see a lot of bodybuilders, especially now, that are like either in the off season or transferring into season, which is like what I'm doing. And all of them, when I'm seeing them doing cardio, it's always lists. They're on the treadmill. Maybe they even have like a slight incline or something, but they're always going at the same pace. They're keeping it around the same. They're not like doing any HIIT. They're not doing much sprints or anything like that.
Yeah.
Which is different because for me right now, I'm actually doing I'm doing like 4 rounds of sprints after my list.
Yeah.
So that
I just started adding sprints into my
it's pretty
routine
fun,
again.
honestly.
I love it.
It's kind of fun, like especially if you have a really good like song. You're like, I'm running to the song.
I need to like post my playlist somewhere because my music is so intense and it makes for great
it would
sprinting
also
music.
really scare you guys if you heard her music. There'll be sometimes when we're in the car and she'll play, oh, sorry. And it's like,
it's not like screamo. It's not like that intense, but it is intense.
It's intense.
The next form of cardio is miss. It's basically the same as list, but again, instead of now low intensity, it's mid intensity. So it's just a little higher of a heart rate, a little more challenging. You probably can't talk during this one. This could look like jogging for a steady pace for several miles. This could look like still walking on incline, but at a faster pace, or still doing Stairmaster, but at a faster pace. Just a little more intense than that list. This is still good for people in prep, usually bikini competitors, because they don't mind losing a little bit of muscle.
It's true.
I'll just get a little bit into heart rate zones. I don't know why I'm like overthinking it. Once you cross a threshold, you kind of go from, okay, you're not burning anything. Then your heart rate gets high enough to a point where, okay, you're burning body fat. And that's what we want to stay in. And then you can cross that threshold into, okay, now you're burning muscle. And that's what we don't want to get into. And I'll talk about in a little bit how to calculate what heart rate zone you should be in. But if you're looking at it like that, like it's just 3 different levels, we always want to stay in the middle because we don't want to burn muscle. That's kind of counterproductive unless you do for whatever reason. Yeah. And we don't want to be too low because then you're not burning body fat. So sometimes miss does get into that burning muscle zone. I'd say that's the only downside. Is just everyone's different. Track your heart rate.
It's crazy too because I actually never have tracked my heart rate until this season of bodybuilding. I don't know why. I think it's also because I never had a form of like a way to track it. But now that I've been using my Whoop for a long time now, and it's literally ingrained in like everything that I do for training. This is not sponsored. I am sponsored by Whoop, but like this, I just really love Whoop. Yeah. But yeah, so every morning I can just like put my heart rate up, and I've never really tracked it before. And it's just really interesting because you get to see like what actually makes what things make your heart rate go up and what don't. So I've even been adding like a little bit of jump rope in with mine so that I can still stay at like a list level on my treadmill, but there will be times where it's going like I'm going too slow and my heart rate starts to drop. Yeah. So for me, my coach wants it to be between 130 and 145. Yeah. He wants me to keep it right between there, which I'm guessing is this mid fat burning zone. Yeah. So, but it is kind of hard to like keep it right in between there. Yeah. But every time that I start to see it like drop a little bit towards like maybe 29, 28 or 129, 128, then I do a little bit of jump rope because for
just
me,
to get it up real quick.
Yeah, it
That's
helps
so
me in my calves, and then I go back on it, and my heart rate's up, and then I run. It's like weird.
That's cool though. But I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think it's something that's like super overlooked when people go into cardio because they're like, oh, I'm just going to go as fast as I can, as hard as I can for as long as I can. But you might be burning muscle that might be counterproductive, and then you're still not going to be happy with your results at the end of the day.
It also makes me think about all the times that I was on the Stairmaster, and like you get to a certain point, like with cardio, if you do it for a long time, that you kind of get good at it. Like your body is good at adapting.
Cardiovascular health is genuinely improving. So your heart rate's going to need more exercise to get higher.
Which is so annoying.
Yeah.
So that's why it's kind of like it's really good to start easy and start slow, because then you have so much wiggle room so that you can go from being like, say, level 6 on the Stairmaster, which is pretty easy, to like level 10. Like that's how I start when I'm on prep. I'm literally on level 6 and I'm dying and my calves are swollen. By the end of prep, I can do like level 12, piece of cake. Like it's wild.
Well, if you think about it, that's why if you take a very overweight, unhealthy person and put them on a cardio plan of walking on incline for 20 minutes a day, and you take someone that's in competition prep in really good shape and you do the same cardio plan, the person that is more unhealthy is going to see results way faster, not just because their body fat percentage, but because of their cardiovascular health.
Exactly. Like your heart rate is going to way quicker. Like I'm already starting to notice that like it is harder for me to get my heart rate in between that range with me doing cardio for about 20 to 25 minutes, 5 days a week for about 5 weeks now. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Eventually I'm going to have to start going up.
I'm in the zone where like I just went months without cardio. So I'll walk on incline for 20 minutes and I'm like toasted.
Dead.
So did you just stab?
Yep.
I hated that. For those of you who don't watch on YouTube, you really should.
Dead.
Anyway, the last section of cardio is HIIT, which I feel like is probably the most talked about, at least on like YouTube and stuff. I just feel like HIIT is like thrown at everyone. HIIT can kind of, well, first off, it's high intensity interval training. So that's exactly what it sounds like. It's any sort of cardio where instead of being at a steady state the whole time, you're peaking your heart rate. So you'll let it get really high for a minute and then you'll bring it down for a minute, not actually a minute, but like whatever your rest and like peak looks like for that workout.
Yeah.
This can be in the gym with things like kettlebell swings, burpees, squat jumps, like anything getting your heart rate up and then taking a rest period, doing it again, like circuit training. But this could also look like sprints, which is how you're approaching it now.
It could also be like Orange Theory classes, F45 classes, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I'm also thinking about like what type of classes would be in the miss category and what type of classes would be in the list category.
I'm sure they have it like listed on their websites and stuff for classes like that, because I'm sure there are more like purely cardio focused classes. And then there's like the high intensity circuit training classes.
Because with like Orange Theory and F45, I've done F45, I haven't done Orange Theory, but they're both are like cardio and weightlifting mixed together, but it's a HIIT style of training. Like where you're going to thing to thing to thing to thing. And then do you even rest? Do you rest?
F45, not so much. Okay. I almost worked for them when I was like 18.
Oh, really?
Fun fact. Not a huge fan of how they structure things because they don't really do a lot of rest. So your heart rate is like pretty dangerously high the entire workout, which can be good for someone that like hates doing cardio, wants to get it over with. That's what I think HIIT is good for in general, is for people who don't have a lot of time and still want to burn a lot of calories. It's so good at like a condensed workout. Like obviously sprints are going to be harder than just walking, but also you're getting that benefit in 5 minutes when you could walk for 30 minutes.
It's very true.
I also, I don't want to like put this out as a fact because I remember just watching so many videos when I was younger and I'm pulling from that. So like I could totally be wrong, but I believe there's been some studies that show that when you do HIIT training, you burn more calories longer throughout the day versus if you do a list or a miss, your calorie burning kind of ends when you end with that cardio.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I was wondering about, because there's so many, like there's people say so many different things about this, that this one does, that this one does. People say that weight training does. Like if you're just doing weight training, you're burning more calories throughout the day. So this is where like information overload happens, and it's like, okay, well, what's really the truth?
Yeah.
And I guess
I feel like never approach anything with like which one's going to cut corners for me. Like that is not the point of cardio in general.
Yeah.
You need to find, multiple things, what style works for you and for what your goals are, what you have time for. Like, I think that's what matters way more than like which one of these is getting me results the fastest, because all of them are going to work.
It's true. So like, even on the aspect of what do you have time for, if you don't have time to do like that long steady state cardio in the morning, because there's times where I get really deep in prep, and like on my off season, I would never do this. The only reason I would do it is because I'm on prep for a show and I have to compete in order to look a certain way that I'll never look like again. So there's times where I go in the morning and I'm doing fasted cardio for like an hour, and then I come home, I eat, go later and I train, and then I pose and maybe do some more cardio. Most people can't do that.
Yeah.
Like,
nor do they want to.
Nor do they want to. Sometimes I don't even want to.
Yeah.
But like, what can you do that's going to fit into your schedule? Maybe it is that HIIT workout where it's like, okay, I want to burn about this many calories in this shorter amount of time. Then, okay, I'll just make a circuit, or I'll go to a F45 training. Or
yeah. I also think that doing a combination of 2 or 3 of these is like probably your best bet, because then you are keeping your heart health, first off, healthy, but also like you're almost confusing it. Like you're doing different things to make your heart rate go up again. Cause maybe you'll get used to the stairmaster on level 12, but maybe you're not used to sprints. So it's good to switch it up a little bit, especially if you're not like working towards a specific show, because then that makes it like a little more specific. Talking a little more about heart rate zones, I'm going to put it up on the screen, the calculation I'm about to say, cause I would imagine it's really confusing. So for those not watching on YouTube, maybe pop over there if you need a visual. How to find your target heart rate zone, which is essentially, like we talked about, there's 3 main steps. There's actually 5, but we'll simplify it with 3. There's the I'm not burning enough to be burning body fat. There's the I'm at a level where I'm burning body fat. And then there's the, okay, my heart rate's too high. I'm approaching my max. I'm burning muscle now. And there's not a ton of benefit to that except cardiovascular health. How to find it is to calculate your THR, which is your target heart rate zone, multiply your MHR, which is your max heart rate, by 64% and 76%. These numbers will give you the low and the high of what your heart rate should stay between. So I'm going to give an example. Again, I'm going to put this all on the screen. So go over to YouTube. It's going to be a lot easier to see it. For an example, if you're 25, you're going to take 220. Regardless of your age, you're going to take 220 and you're going to subtract your age from it. So 220 minus 25 is 195. Now you're going to find 64% of that and 76% of that. So 64% of 195 is 124. 76% of 195 is 148. So someone that is 25 years old should generally stay between 124 and 148.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So that's the basic way to find it.
Yeah. That's also, I'm assuming, just like kind of like very generalized as well.
Like obviously someone like you who's actively doing cardio, like by the end of your prep, that zone may change for you.
Yeah.
But it's just for like general based on age. I usually shoot for the middle of that. So like in this example, it's kind of like in the 120s, in the 140s. I'll try to keep my heart rate around the 130s.
Gotcha.
So
yeah, I usually try and keep it like, for me, my coach wants it to be at least between 130 and 145. So I'm like keeping it at like 135, 140, like anywhere in between there.
Yeah.
And try not to get it to go too high, because I know that I'm like, if I start doing this a lot now, I'm going to have to keep doing more cardio, higher intensity to reach the same effect.
It's just like how when we talked about nutrition, you don't want to start with your calories too low, because then like, where do you go from here? It's the same with cardio. If you start your cardio too high, it's like, where do I go from here?
It's very true. I mean, like even when you were using the example of somebody that is like just starting their journey, maybe they do have to lose a lot of weight.
Yeah.
What tends to happen is that they go in and they do an insane amount of cardio and they burn themselves out very fast. And this is what happens with the yo-yoing, with dieting and with cardio or just training in general, is that we do too much too fast. And
Be patient.
I know. I feel like this is, I always call it the like, we're the Amazon generation where we want everything shipped next day. Yeah. Whether it's like our body goals, we want to lose weight, like we want it next day. So we do whatever we can. We'll pay whatever we can.
Yeah.
And shortcut where we can to make sure that we get it like the next day. And then this is what
You
happens
will
with
be
the yo-yoing cycle.
so much happier if you just take a slow approach and make this your lifestyle.
Yeah.
Like, make cardio just part of your routine. You don't have to do a crazy amount. Just do enough where you're getting your heart rate up to a point where you're burning some extra calories during your workout. Like, it's really not that extreme. I also like only include the numbers for those of you who are fully lost and don't know where you should be intensity wise at all. It's really not that serious. You don't have to track your heart rate your entire workout. I think maybe check it once you get up to the pace you're going to be doing. Make sure you're in a good zone. That's all you really need to do.
Yeah. I only track mine during cardio because my coach wants me to.
That again, that's
basically
like, that's different because you're in prep and you like have to
Normally
be that.
I wouldn't track it, but now I know that like it's giving me a good range. Like I can feel what it feels like. So now I'll be able to know like, okay, like this is just kind of way too easy. Like I know it's way too easy. Maybe we should just beep.
Yeah.
Beep.
Now you know like around what like incline and speed to be at or what level to be at on the Stairmaster. So that's basically all like the info for cardio. I think the only thing that then just remind you of is like which one to choose. Depends on your goals, depends on your preferences. For example, I hate Stairmaster. It hurts my back. I'm not a fan. Unless I'm in prep, I will never do it. I much rather walk on an incline or do sprints. It's just like a little better for my mental health. I'll still do it just because it is like really beneficial, but I don't love it. And then also assess what you're currently doing. Don't backtrack. So if you like already are on a certain like level on the Stairmaster, walking on flat ground is probably going to be a little too easy for you if like continuing progress is your goal. So just kind of assess what you're already doing, slowly build on it. Don't go too extreme. And then do you want to talk about specifically what we do for cardio right now?
Yeah. So for me right now, weirdly enough, like what I realized is that I kind of told you guys earlier about like what my general routine is during prep. Is like I wake up, I go to the gym, and I go do my Stairmaster. Then I come home, I eat my breakfast. Then later I go to the gym. And I started realizing that I don't have to go to the gym in the morning. I could just go to the gym that's here in my complex and not waste so much time. I just realized like I was so attached to going and doing that whole thing that I was actually getting less sleep because I had to wake up earlier in order to have time to go and do that, even though my gym is close. And I was like, Julia, like you could just do it. So I've literally been just like waking up, getting more sleep and finishing my cardio in about the same like amount of time and having actually my breakfast and starting work earlier because I'm not doing that. So I go and I've actually been doing the treadmill because they don't have a Stairmaster here. Most gyms that are in like complexes, they don't have Stairmasters.
I don't think my apartment has one.
Yeah, but I honestly should just buy one and have it like in my garage.
As soon as I buy a house, that is the first piece of furniture I'm buying is a Stairmaster for my garage. Again, I hate the Stairmaster, but it gets me results the fastest. So
yeah, especially with like how long I eventually like have to do it and like when it might get up to an hour, like driving there, being there for an hour, plus cardio or plus sprints, plus ab workout, like it's longer. So I've been doing the treadmill and I do an incline. I've only been doing like an incline of 4 and it's like incline 4, speed 4. And then I get my heart rate up until that point where it's like between that 30 and 45. And then if it slows down, I do some jump rope. And the jump rope is honestly making my calves look super nice because I have really small calves and I hate training calves. But I know that like genetically, if I just like train and do jump rope a lot and I keep doing those reps on my calves, they're going to get bigger.
I mean, Stairmaster works them too.
Exactly.
And incline walking.
Yeah.
So you're like triply hitting them.
Yeah. But I also noticed that like for me doing the Stairmaster, at least in this point, it's making my legs so swollen that like I can't recover. And that usually wasn't the case but in my past couple of preps. But this time I'm like, at least right now, I can't do it. And it hurts too bad. My ankles get swollen. My quads get swollen. Like when I'm telling you guys, doing certain things makes my legs swell up so much that it's painful. Yeah.
I've also experienced it.
It sucks.
I will say, like, for people in that boat, say you notice like a certain, like, either running or Stairmaster or walking on incline is just too impactful. It's hurting your joints. It's hurting your body. You're not recovering enough that it's like benefiting you in the gym in the long run.
Yeah.
Ellipticals are great.
Yeah.
I did elliptical towards the end of my last prep because I would do Stairmaster as my fasted cardio, and I was supposed to do Stairmaster post, and I just like, my glutes were constantly like balled up. My back hurt so bad. So I switched to the elliptical, and it's just so much lower impact, but you obviously have to go at a faster pace to try it. You're almost like running on it.
Exactly.
To try to get your heart rate up to what the Stairmaster would do in a walking pace. I'd say that's the only trade-off, but it's really good for like a situation like that.
Yeah. Like I used to I love the Stairmaster because I can do the Stairmaster and be on my phone the whole time. But now it's like, I don't really want to be on my phone while I'm doing it. I might eventually later, but now I'm like finding ways to like not be bored with it. That's why adding jump rope in is helping me. So
that's a good tip, is like how to get through cardio.
Yeah.
I'm a big like, I will find a Netflix show and make that purely my cardio show.
I did the same thing where I was like, it makes you excited to go do cardio because you're like,
you get to watch your show.
I get to watch an episode of blah, blah, blah. Or like a YouTuber or something.
Yeah.
Well, watch my YouTube channel.
Yes. Especially when I'm in prep or doing any like big cut, I love watching other people's prep. Because then you feel like you're doing it with someone. You feel like you're not alone. So listen to our podcast on it. Like, I don't know.
There's a
just
ton of things that you can do. Definitely like podcasts, music. And if you get bored with like one of the things, like flip flop between like music, because you know, like maybe save the music till the end or something.
That's what
when you're
I
like,
always
you're
used
like
to do.
really need to, and you're like watch your little episode of whatever it is, then switch it, and you're like, okay, it's go time.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to get bored. Once you get bored, your mind starts telling your body to get off of the machine, and then you're sad, and you go home.
Stay
and
distracted.
Like, yeah.
That's always why.
Stay distracted, my friends.
That's always why I loved doing fasted cardio, because I would go before my eyes were even open. So by the time I was awake, I was like halfway through my cardio session.
Oh my God.
Like I would somehow get there and start and just be so tired that like I would finish and go back home and fall back asleep. And when I woke up, I like felt like I never even did it.
You're on the Stairmaster. Wait, what?
Where am I?
Who put me on the Stairmaster?
You're just going to like autopilot. I don't know. The cardio I'm doing right now is I've just been like, I just started this because we're going on a trip soon and I want to feel good about myself. Is just implementing any cardio at all recently. So I've been doing walking on incline on all of my upper body days. I don't really do cardio on my lower body right now. I don't really have a need to. And I train hard enough on my lower body right now that I'm probably burning even more than when I do cardio.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? Incline walking, I'm usually around the same as you. Like I'll do like incline like 4 to 6, like in that zone. And I'll be pace of like 3.5 to 4, depending on like how I feel that day. I'll do that for maybe like 25 minutes right now. That's plenty for someone that like is literally coming from not doing cardio for months, if not years at this point.
That's how much I'm doing.
And then I'm about to start implementing sprints back into my routine just because I miss it and I just like want to have something to look forward to. So I might add those to my leg days, or I might just add them after my incline walking. So I'm doing about like 3 or 4 cardio sessions a week, all pretty short, all pretty easy, either in that list zone or the HIIT zone. So
yeah, and like you guys like think about how much that she just, it's not even a lot like in the grand scheme of things. So she added 3 sessions of about 25 minutes
walking on incline before my workout.
So she's typically, because that's how much I do, she's typically probably burning between 150 to 200 calories. So say, let's just round it to 200. So she's burning an extra 600 calories a week. And if we're putting that into, she's not even changing anything in her diet. She's going to lose weight because she's burning an extra 600 calories. Like this is how like simple it can be, but we're like, I have to do an hour in order to see results.
Yeah.
It's not true.
Not true. Yeah. I remember in the beginning of my journey doing so much cardio and going home and eating like crap.
Yes.
So just like, again, we kind of almost went in order of like importance, except I think we maybe switched one of them around with this Gym Girl Basics. I almost said theory. Series.
Gym Girl Theory.
the theory. But basically, like, tackle nutrition first, exercise first. Like, once those are intact, then cardio can be a tool to help you. But if you're doing all this cardio and you're not eating well and you're now skipping workouts because you're too tired to do them, like, that should not be the order of importance. You should not be prioritizing cardio over everything else.
Yeah, because also, like, if we're just talking about this calorie count that we just talked about, if you're doing about 25 minutes, say you're burning 150 to 200 calories, that's it. You want to know how much calories that is? Not a lot, especially like
a quarter of my breakfast.
Yeah. So if you have like a burger, that's maybe, if you have the whole meal, it's at least 2,000 calories or something. So doing that cardio didn't matter. Like, you canceled it out 100%. So yeah.
I feel like that's all we have for cardio. I still don't know how to do our outro, so this is on you.
Well, we love you all so much. And you're more powerful than you think.
Bye.